Hey guys, welcome to another day with Zimaleta. In today's video, I'm installing this 3.0 liter diesel engine into a 2007 or 8 Freightliner Sprinter. It's the same engine for both of those years. Anyways, so as I'm installing it, there's a couple things. First of all, I'm doing everything myself and trying to move this, kind of helps having this, plywood and everything, but still trying to adjust the engine and move it at the same time is quite difficult. So what I did is I used this pry bar, which is exactly what you use for this. I used it to kind of pry the engine, forward or back like that. As you can see, that works. And then if I needed to kind of adjust it somewhat, same thing, goes like that. So if I need to kind of, bring it back a little bit, boom, or vice versa, boom. That kind of helps without stressing things out. Because trying to move it by yourself, it's going to be quite difficult because, things will shake and stuff like that, and you don't want to really crash anything. But anyways, as I'm installing this, I'm running into a problem. Like this exhaust manifold, it sits on top of the flex pipe, and the way that it sits, it's kind of hard to get it in place with the engine stuff. So I'm gonna have to do some tweaking and adjusting and stuff to get it in place. The exhaust also has there's a mounting bracket that it has kind of towards the top. But anyways, what my plan is to go underneath the vehicle, and I do have a normal transmission lift, except it's a really heavy duty for like 800 pounds or something. So what I'm going to try to do is use one of these things, and I'm going to lift up the transmission somewhat and have the engine basically tilt up like this when I do the wall. My hand looks completely different color in the camera. So when you lift it up, I think I'll be able to have a little bit more visuals how to make sure that pipe goes good, because you don't want to force anything when you're doing this. And of course I'll have to climb down and I'll have to do some checking and stuff like that. This is apart from the transmission. I don't know how it got here. Oh well, I was blowing the air stuff, so it's kind of like a seal. It seals up in between the transmission. But anyways, that's where I'm at, and as you can see, the motor mounts, they're in place. The bolts are not, but it's in place right now because I don't know if I'm gonna have to move the engine back or not. I really don't know. But to get the engine installed just in that position without bolting it, it took me exactly 30 minutes to get that done. So just so you know, with minor tweaking and this and that, going back. But then trying to get everything hooked up, obviously it's gonna take a lot longer, But anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so as you can see, I've tilted the engine pretty far. So over here, there's a lot of things that are now visible, and I could see if I could, what I need to do to try to guide this pipe. But at this point, obviously, it's tilted way too much, and it might not be really doing me any favors. But I'm gonna have to work it somewhat and see what needs to be done and go from there, and I'll give you guys an update. But at least this gives me clearance so that I could see exactly what needs to be done. And yeah. Guys, I hate to tell you this, but I might need to pull the engine back out again. I really don't know. As you can see, I already slightly moved it out of its motor mounts. And that's because everything I've tried, including propping up the transmission, it's just not working for me to install the exhaust pipe. Now, this time I done things differently in this video, but in the last video I was working on 2010, I pulled out the whole exhaust together. And I had to drop the subframe for that, and I actually think that was a better idea because it allowed me to just keep everything intact, and I just put everything as one piece and installed it. This time, the exhaust is separated, and you would think what's the big deal, but there's such little clearances to get things in, and what I'm having trouble with is there's this mount for the actual exhaust pipe that cannot even get through in between the flex pipe and like, so I either need to remove the flex pipe and then install the exhaust pipe, and then trying to install this exhaust, the downpipe and stuff. But then how am I going to be able to get to the bolts that mount the flex pipe in place? They're going to be right behind this exhaust. So what I'm going to do right now at this point, I'm actually going to separate the exhaust right there at the bottom, where it connects to, like underneath the vehicle. And I'm going to just set it on time lapse, and I'm just going to be doing stuff, guys. I'm having allergies right now, like really bad. In February, they just hit me hard. Instead of like one tablet, I took 2 today for my allergies. And I'm just going to have to just work through it. And you might see me just, doing this and that. But I'll give you guys an update kind of like this to let you know exactly what I did and stuff like that. So, but already I could see that future advice would be, if you're going to pull an engine, go ahead and pull it with the whole exhaust and, of course, with the transmission attached to the engine. That would be a lot less headache, to be honest, And then, of course, less headache putting it back in. But anyways, let's do this. So anyways, guys, I've disconnected the pipe towards the back, and it's giving me some leverage, but not enough. And what I'm having to deal with is this bracket right here. I'm gonna give you a closer look. So what I'm thinking is, it's going to be best that I've removed the CGR cooler and go ahead and remove that bracket, and then try to install the engine without the AGR cooler. And it's going to give me some leverage behind this bracket. Then I could properly set the pipe, and then I could do this without removing the pipe. But right now the pipe is disconnected, so currently it is no longer connected. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wood and I'm going to prop up that exhaust pipe so that it faces up where kind of like I want it to be. And that's what I'm going to do right now in the time lapse. So guys, I did remove the AGR cooler. So this is the bracket that's here. So when it's fully attached, it's like back here. So that pipe needs to come in and lock in with this type of bracket. So I'm thinking if I maybe guide this thing out slightly, perhaps it could have some leverage to pop in, and then I could sort of guide it together with it, and then it's going to come together. Now that's what I'm hoping for anyways, because if I do remove this bolt, remember what I was telling you is that there's a bolt right here behind it. And that's why it makes this whole process a little bit more challenging, because you're really having to work with the pipe that's attached back there, and you have to tug on it back and forth and whatnot, and it creates a huge problem. So I don't know if this is going to help me or not, but it's my first time trying to do it this way. But this is not going to work. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the exhaust, attach the exhaust to the engine and stick it all together. But then I have to remove the subframe and a bunch of other connections, which gives me more work. Okay, I have some good news. That idea that I had, it did work. So as you can see, this pipe is closer than ever. This actually is now aligned. So all I have to do is, like, if I attach this now, like, the bolt is pretty much spot on. So that idea did actually work really well, which means I don't have to remove that whole exhaust system now. It's a lot easier to mess with the CGR. When that gets aligned, I'm going to align this portion right here of the motor mount. That other one is already sitting in place. But with it twisted like that, it allows me to finish working on hooking everything up right there. So I gotta grab the correct stuff to hook it up and go from there. Guys, every time I do this and I'm thinking I probably should not make a video, then I realize I really should, because this might really help somebody out. So this bolt right here, apparently when you're removing it, you know, you might think there's a thread or whatever, and when you remove it, there's a socket behind it, which they should have welded on, but apparently they didn't. So when you remove this, you possibly will lose the nut that goes on there. So it's a bolt, so there's a nut behind it. So let me show you what I used. I couldn't find the correct one, and plus I didn't want to risk it, so I have this set right here, and this happens to be the 3/8 5/8 type of bolt. Oh, which is it? But anyways, it was this one, and it was this type of socket. So basically it's a 14 millimeter, guys. This is something that I bought at Harbor Tool and Freight. This is kind of like what it looks like, nuts and bolts. I have various assortments and seals and things like that, you know, that I could really, you know, use if I needed to. So I tried both ways. I was going to try to put the bolt facing this way, and the clearances is so small, you know, the bolt's gonna get in stock. And I tried twisting, I tried everything to try to get it in here. That way you could see that it's a nut and not a bolt for next time. But you know, I decided that it's just best to just put the bolt right through and then put a knife from the bottom, a lot easier. So as you can see, this is coming closer, a lot better and things like that. So now I think I'm going to try to go ahead and, first of all, I'm going to try to get this bracket. I mean, now I don't think I'll be able to get this bracket in. I mean, it needs to kind of like align by itself once I put the engine in correctly, because right now the pipe is kind of tugging on it, and it's somewhat attached still to its, you know, bottom piece. It's just the long tube, it's not, so it could go up and down. So I'm gonna try to shift it and whatever and try to get into place now that this is far enough. And I know it's impossible for this exhaust pipe now not to be getting out, because now I have a you know, knot in place. And once I could get this thing, you know, close enough, I could even use a longer bolt to try to pull things together. And once I pull this together, I'll install the bracket first, because that bracket is necessary for installing the EGR cooler, and it really needs to go closer, guys. So anyways, I'm gonna put on time lapse and keep it going. I'm going to make a little note. Really nothing has happened with the engine just yet, but what I did decided to do is go ahead and slide the exhaust pipe into its place where it actually connects with that clamp, and the bolts are now good and tight. So I know the exhaust pipe is not going anywhere, so all that stuff is attached. Next, I'm gonna start propping up the engine a little bit, I mean transmission a little bit in the back, and then pushing the engine a little bit forward. Right, guys, so I have not lowered the engine that much just yet, but what I will tell you is the motor mounts are in. That is now adjusted. I made sure to, you know, not squish anything, you know. So as you can see, it's almost kind of hard to see where this clamp is in, but it's in there. And you could see now slightly pushing up against that bolt. So I'm gonna have to just take a I'm just going to take a flat screwdriver, which is right here, and I'm just going to slightly release it, you know, kind of like that. It's a bit difficult to try to work with it any other way. So the pipe is in the bracket, and I should be able to prop up the exhaust arm and have it go forward, but that's only going to happen once I actually install that portion. So we're very close, but not quite. So if need be, I will take some longer bolts and I will start like inserting one, and it's going to pull things forward. And when it pulls it forward, I'll use a shorter one, pull it forward, remove the longer one, or just go ahead and put another one a little bit shorter, like, you know, and just pull everything forward. So might actually probably do that next, because technically I'll still be able to adjust that pipe because it's a flex pipe. But I mean, we're pretty much right here at the turbo, so everything's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put on time lapse and keep it going, and I'll update you guys what I did. Okay, a little update. I was able to bring this bracket closer, and these was not lighting up, so but the bottom one did, which is good. You always should look which one. And then I was able to put this on and pull it forward. The way I actually got this closer, I just simply kind of like just picked this thing up, and it kind of went into place and stayed like that, which is really surprising, because I was trying to mount this, you know, do it with like a screw, with a very long I mean, it's a screwdriver, it's a pry bar, you know what I mean, like a flathead. I didn't have any long bolts to pull it forward, and that's all I had. So one of the original bolts is on, and now I kind of need to perhaps wedge something in between right there, pull it forward just enough to put that screw in the other one. And then of course this turbo thing is closer and closer for it to be mounted correctly. But I don't know why, but it just seems like there's something else that's keeping it from going forward, and it's not the bottom bolt. Like, what's going on? Why is the thing being so ridiculous? Because really there's nothing else that should be there. I mean, it's kind of like it's got the soft jacket up against that pipe, but still it's like trying to fix that thing is nearly impossible. Yeah. Gosh, I really did not see that coming. I mean, what do you do, you know? I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna have to loosen that bracket just to adjust that pipe, which that's not what I want to do, because that thing is gonna get misaligned. So where's these bolt holes? One is all the way there. Wait a minute. I mean, this is correct. So this is that bolt, and there's that one. So one of them, like this pipe actually, like there's one bolt's already installed, like slightly, and that will kind of go into that. But you know, it's a little bit close. But I think I'm still going to go ahead and install this bracket. Then I will wrestle with the rest of the turbo. I think still that's a lot easier to adjust that than this. I may climb underneath and try to see if I could jack up the exhaust some, which I could do, and that may help me kind of squeeze things where they need to be. Like if I am jacking it up right there, perhaps it's gonna help. But also I have the transmission slightly jacked up, so this might be throwing things off a little bit. So I may have to lower the transmission some, and maybe this is gonna fall into place. Maybe this is why it's having such a hard time, because the engine's right now facing up, and this is probably really what's happening. So I think that's the very first thing I'm gonna do, drop the transmission, let you guys know. So anyways, guys, this is the update. I was able to get all these bolts in. So that means the AGR cooler is gonna go in just fine. The turbo bolt I did not have to remove just yet. This is almost aligned like where it needs to be. I do have very little wiggle room, if any. I'm not sure if the bolt is actually going to go in. If I put it in, like, I'm not sure if it is where it needs to be. It's kind of hard to tell. Let me turn the light on. Okay. Oh yeah, it's not where it needs to be. Like somehow this thing will need to get twisted. Like I just don't even understand. Like, how is it off like that? Oh crap! I don't want to drop that. It's a brand new bolt. So I think there's a possibility that I could somewhat, you know, jack up the exhaust. Maybe this is going to help. Hopefully, because I just needed to twist this way. So maybe if I jack it up kind of like in a corner there, it's going to help. I don't know. I really did not think this is going to be an issue. Also, I'm thinking that the engine possibly is not still aligned how it's supposed to be. And exhaust is a separate system, so maybe the engine needs to come down a little bit to the left. And how are we gonna do that? Well, maybe I should just go ahead and connect the transmission to the drive shaft and everything, get all that stuff done, and when I get it done, I'm not gonna have to wrestle this as hard. So I'm thinking that that's exactly what I'm going to need to do, is just be able to just go ahead and attach the transmission, the drive shaft, you know, that kind of thing. The drive shaft, not really necessary to do, but at least the transmission needs to be somewhat attached. And also, I might be having an issue with the bracket of the exhaust system that mounts to the transmission. So I need to climb underneath and take a look at that bracket, and then install the bracket onto the transmission, and I think this is gonna help guide things along. So I think if I raise that bracket enough, then it should align that pipe. It's kind of annoying that this stuff is ripped. I was putting a cardboard so that I could work in this area. I'm surprised it's holding. Probably needs to just use some of that sticky glue, just gonna spray down and get the stuff in there. But anyways, guys, that's my thoughts. As you're watching this video, guys, you know, write in the comments below, like, what you're thinking, you know, like, what's your take on all of these things. And, you know, I mean, I'm making this just to help you guys. I wasn't even going to try to make this, because every time I have to stop and update and make a video, it takes away a little bit of my time. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I made this, because as you're installing something and you're doing something like that, chances are you're running into the same type of issue. And you could get an idea on how to work with that. Guys, I'm gonna give you a little update. First of all, to get to this point, it has taken me 4 hours, to be exact. I've timed myself. So, here's where we're at. I did catch a problem. One of the problems was underneath. Let me make it underneath. But anyways, I don't even know if the problem's solved yet. So let's take a look at this bolt, see how much this actually lines up. I don't know, but that seems kind of close. I have not even tried this yet, so let me see if this even will go into any kind of hole. I don't know, and I cannot see that hole. But anyways, I think I'm faced with a smaller problem than before. Now that's still kind of tough to try to control, but as you can see, a lot better than it was. This is a lot easier to get that in control than everything else. As you could see, it is now very close to it. I mean, like, literally just a little notch, and I'm gonna be right on the money. So I mean, I could do a couple things. I could prop up the transmission some, the exhaust just a little bit, you know, to get that bolt close enough, and I could do some other things to maneuver it into place. But one thing for sure, the bracket's in place, you know, all that stuff is in place. But what was happening is one of the brackets underneath for the transmission, and I don't know if we'll be able to see that bracket. It's kind of hidden behind the transmission there. It's kind of difficult to crawl here, guys. I literally don't have the van even like propped up, but right here you could see it really good. You see this metal bracket right here? This is a bracket for the exhaust, so it runs alongside here. So you need to attach the bracket, and it uses that very long type of attachment. Now, as I was installing an engine, this bracket kind of got cut up a little bit behind the transmission, just over slightly, but it was not in the correct spot. So I needed to bring it back into its spot. I got it attached. I also got the transmission attached right here. And the transmission right now is lowered. It's not propped up or anything. So this is kind of what I did. So that is now in place. Transmission's mounted. I haven't attached nothing else for transmission because we're still kind of working. As you could see, the rear end, man, that is spot on pretty much. I'll just have to somewhat, you know, rotate that stuff. I could already start putting in those bolts, which I will in just a little bit. You know, that goes. So this is something I'm gonna connect next. You know, then I'll have to worry about because I still need to install the turbo seal, but before doing anything I want to make sure the turbo lines up correctly. But this is definitely something I want to do next. At this point it's slightly over 6 p.m. You know, it's getting dark. I'm not going to work in the dark, even though I can. I know where a lot of this stuff goes, but that's also when you make a lot of mistakes, is in the dark. So you don't want to have to work in the dark. I have some commercial lighting right there, and they're getting ready to, those lights are getting ready to come on. But that being said, before even moving on to the front, I'll need to, of course, install the EGR cooler. And you know, it takes some doing getting it from here, but I could manage, you know, plenty of space still. I'll need to, of course, install the engine mount bolts. They're currently not installed. Biggest thing is I want to make sure that this turbo gets attached with an appropriate seal. And I do want to get it as close as possible. Like, I don't want to have to wrestle with that thing. So one of the ways I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna try to install this last bolt first, and then kind of hang the turbo up on that bolt, and then I'm gonna start wiggling it into place, because once one bolt is kind of attached and that thing is kind of hanging there, I could start putting in a brand new turbo seal. It does have these little pins. Looks like I could snap them into place and then go ahead and start guiding it. And it's going to go like this, kind of like upside down, and I'm gonna have to install it straight up onto the pipe, and then I'm gonna have to start installing this bolt first. But that bottom piece just sort of seems like it hangs down, and that's what kind of like I don't get. Like, it should be kind of like a little cutaway over here, because that's exactly how it is on a turbo, but I guess it does not have it. So it looks like I'll have to install the bolt through the seal, and I'll have to just aim it for that. But it does have a place where it's cut away over here, so it's sort of like you could hang the exhaust. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but if you've done this before, then you will know kind of like what I'm talking about. So I also have some of these other seals. I have glow plug things to replace them right here, like these connectors, because they're broken, and some of these are like turbo seals and whatnot. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Guys, I do want to let you know I slightly propped up with the car jack. You could kind of see like that triangle. I don't know if you really could, but here's what I done. I basically took a corner and I kind of propped up my exhaust, which it tilted it, I think, just enough. I'm really not sure. By the way, that seal, it actually pops right into the turbo, so you could still kind of hang it on the bolt over there. So right now, I'm not sure if you guys could see. I know one thing is I cannot see what I'm actually recording. And the turbo should be hanging on the last bolt. And I think it's on there. I can kind of feel it that it's on. I'm gonna have to look at it myself. It's not very good, but you could sort of see kind of like towards the end that, yeah, like it is sort of on there, but I believe it needs to go down just a little bit more. And that's already kind of like not a big deal. I think right now if I remove like the actual thing from oh my gosh, I can't speak, what the heck is it called, the car jack. If I remove that, I think that's going to give it enough leverage for it to go down. So, you know, but before I do that, I want to see if I could fit one of the bolts on there. Let's see. I cannot, at least like right now, I cannot really do that. I cannot even tell like if I'm even being directly across it or not. It's hard to focus things. But what I'm gonna need to do is drop that car jack. Car jack is dropped somewhat, so I don't think this is still lining up. No, it almost seems like it needs to be slightly twisted for it to get in. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one, but let's see if we could actually see that other bolt that's mounted. I don't know if you guys could see that. And I'm gonna try to tilt the camera somewhat, and I'm gonna have to see if I cannot get that thing in view. So I think this should be the right angle. This is the bolt I'm talking about. It should become, I think it's the last. It's not the last. Anyways, what I did is I took a car jack and I jack up the car, and now everything is aligning. I was able to drop this down some. Actually, all of a sudden, I could actually maneuver this. So the transmission is now jacked up, which is allowing this, for some reason, this tube to line up correctly. So I did get this bolt into place by hand. So the rest I'm gonna have to try to just do it by hand and get it in there. Guys, I am 4 hours 37 minutes into the project of actually installing an engine, and that is actually calculating from the time that I actually started installing it off camera, and I installed it, which took me about 30 minutes. Then I had to pull everything out as I was talking about. But anyways, guys, wow, these bolts are in. Everything is in right now, hand tight. Everything is holding good. These bolts seem, I don't know why they're like that. They seem like they're too long for the job. But either way, they're actually already quite snug. And what I could do is now just one by one pull them out and replace them. For some reason, I did not get enough of those gold bolts. They did not give me enough of them. So I'm reusing the old ones. So perhaps these are just a little bit too long and they already reached their length. But either way, the holes are lined up. As soon as I remove one bolt, I could replace it with the one that I need. And that's it. And the bottom one is a gold one, which is already fully tight. I don't know if you could see that. Like that. So let's see.